A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Sheetal and you're watching Hitbullseye. And the topic that I will be discussing with you in today's class is going to be verbal reasoning. Now you must be thinking that we have heard of analytical reasoning or reasoning based on numbers, number series, diagrams, data, Venn diagrams. What is this verbal reasoning? So this is what is going to be the topic of our discussion in this class. Though verbal reasoning or critical reasoning is not going to be a direct part of the CAT exam, but it is going to be an integral part. So there can be question from your comprehension passages which will be verbal reasoning or critical reasoning types of questions in their nature. So all those questions where you see which of the following option adds credence to author's belief, strengthens author's belief, or challenges author's assumption or conclusion, these questions are known as critical reasoning or verbal reasoning questions. So we are going to discuss this type today. Sit still and watch the video carefully. You're gonna enjoy it. A really nice kind of session it's gonna be, because verbal reasoning is a very engaging and a mind-boggling kind of topic. You will see yourself, it's very interesting. So I will discuss all the components of verbal reasoning with you, and then we will see what type of question can there be from this area. Now first of all we need to understand what is verbal reasoning. So what is verbal reasoning? It's reasoning based on the statements. So unlike the reasoning that is based on numbers, Venn diagrams, or some kind of sample that is given to you, this reasoning is going to be based on statements only, because it's a part of English. The thing that will be given to you will be statements, certain facts, or a combination of statement. So your comprehension will be checked through it, your logical understanding will be checked through it. It tests one's logic and reasoning skills, and it tests to find out how well a candidate can assess a verbal logic. So how will you find out logic from given statements? Reasoning tests have to be answered at a very high speed. The reason behind this is, if you take a lot of time in answering these questions, you may end up being confused. So try to answer these at a high speed. Mental alertness, keenness, quick thinking, and keen observation are most essential for tackling verbal reasoning questions. So you have to be mentally alert, you have to understand the things that are not given in the statement, you'll have to read in between the statement, and so on and so forth. So this is how verbal reasoning is going to be. Let's now discuss all the components of VR. So now you must be thinking, what is components of verbal reasoning? So these are going to be the terms on the basis of which you will find question. So before moving on to those questions, it's important that you understand those components or those terms. So because statement is the thing that is given to us, this is our first component. A statement will be given to you, or it can be a combination of statement. It will consist of two things. The first is given or stated facts. The second is unstated facts, also known as assumption. So facts are nothing, any simple kind of assertion is a fact. So if I say that the chair is kept over there, they are moving towards the college, or any such simple sentence, it's going to be a fact. It's not related to universal facts or universal truth. Anything that is said is a fact. Now we can logically understand that a statement which consists of facts, obviously assumptions will be hidden over there. Assumptions are those notions or ideas that the author or the issuer of the statement must have taken for granted before issuing the statement. So whenever you are about to say or issue a statement, there must be so many things on your mind that you take for granted, and then you go on to present some statement or issue some statement. So assumptions are kind of unstated statement that will never be given explicitly to you by the examiner. These are the assumptions of the author which you have to guess. So you just have to put yourself in shoes of the speaker or the author and then guess, okay, before issuing this statement, what would I assume? So this is how you have to guess the assumptions. Now if I add reasoning to this statement, it will no more be a simple statement. With reasoning, it will become an argument. And what is the purpose of providing reasoning to a statement or backing a statement with a reasoning? The purpose is to reach to a definite conclusion. So if you are into a kind of debate with some other party and you issue certain statement, you add some reasoning to it. Basically, you present an argument or the counter argument. If it doesn't have logic in it, will the other person be convinced for your conclusion? No, that is very unlikely. So we always back our statement with reasoning to present a logical argument, a strong argument to convince the other person for some idea. So this thing that you want to convince the other person for is known as the conclusion. The purpose of issuing the statement is to arrive to a conclusion. Now there is something known as hidden conclusion, also known as inference. In verbal reasoning terminology, it is known as inference. So if I tell you a story, I show you some pictures, I show you a movie, and then I ask you, okay, students, what did you derive from it? What did you deduce from it? Or what did you infer from the given situation? So it's a kind of conclusion only, but you will be inferring it, you will be deducing it, it will not be given to you explicitly in the statement. So the same thing, hidden, it's hidden. Inferences are hidden conclusion, assumptions are hidden facts. So you just have to see which one lies on the premise side and which one lies on the conclusion side. Inference is like a conclusion, but it's a hidden conclusion that you have to draw by your understanding, but it should always be backed by the given facts only, which means logically it should be derived from the given facts only. It should be related to it. Inferences are according to the listener or the audience, and assumptions are according to the author or issuer of the statement. So how many terms have we just completed? First is your statement, second is facts, third is assumption, fourth is argument, fifth is conclusion, and sixth is inference. All the question will be based on these questions only. So these are two areas, critical reasoning and verbal reasoning. They use almost the same components only. It's just that the question type is a little bit different in critical reasoning and in verbal reasoning. So in verbal reasoning, most of the time you will get questions like this. A statement is given to you followed by two other sentences. These two sentences can be assumptions, and on the basis of this statement, two assumptions are given, and the question will be, which assumption do you think is implied in this particular case? Which means which assumption is valid in this particular case. Or they can be argument. So he would ask you to, according to the given statement, which argument do you think is a strong one to help us reach that conclusion? These two can be conclusions also. So the question would be, on the basis of the statement, which conclusion do you think will follow? So similarly, they may ask you question on these terms. So it's very important, before moving on to the questions, you are thorough with the definitions or the idea of these components, what they are. So I would simply name this side to be left hand side and this conclusion and inference side to be the right hand side. Let us now understand it with some questions. It will become even more easy with the question. So everyone who is attending the live, try to answer these questions. Now, some types of question that you may get from this area is based on the assumption and argument, just as I showed you, based on inference and conclusion, based on cause and effect. So in cause and effect, two statements are given to you. Two statements will be given. You simply have to guess which one is the cause and which one will be the effect of that cause. Next is course of action. In course of action, some problem is posed in the given statement. First, you have to identify the problem, and then you have to select one option from the two which you think will be the best solution to this problem. So the problems can be the government is facing some kind of unrest in one state. What should be the action taken by the government? It can be related to a company which is facing losses. Its product value is going down. What should they do to overcome that? A school can see that the result is going down. What should the school do to improve the result? So this type of question are known as course of action, which means which right course of action should be followed by the institution or the body to overcome the problem or to solve the problem. Assertion and reason. This is the type that probably you must have done in your school also. So two statements are given. One is the assertion, second is reason. So you have to answer if both the statements are true, and if they are true, is it a valid reason for this assertion? Does it explain this? Will it prove the assertion or not? This is how you answer these questions. Next is mimic the reasoning. In mimic the reasoning, you simply have to imitate the reasoning that is given in the question. So try to use variables and decode the structure given in the question, and in the same structure try to fit each and every option. Whichever option fits well will be your right answer. Last one is resolve the paradox. Paradox is a situation in which you put juxtaposing ideas together, contrasting ideas together. So on the surface, paradoxes seem absurd because it talks about two contradictory things that cannot be placed together. But the beauty of paradoxes is there is always a deep meaning and a logic behind a paradox. So every time you see a paradox question, you have to, or you are supposed to find out or resolve the paradox. So the option that are given to you will be some kind of resolution or some kind of solution basically for the paradoxes. So which one explains the paradox better will be the answer. So I will be covering up only 3 to 4 types of question today. The rest we will do in the second part of verbal reasoning. Alright, so this is how the direction of the question will always be in a verbal reasoning question. So in each of the question below, a statement is followed by two assumptions numbered 1 and 2. So you have to consider the statement and the following assumption and decide which of the assumption is implicit in the statement. Implicit means hidden. Assumptions are anyways hidden, implied or implicit. Don't get confused by the word. So these are the 5 code or 5 answers that you have to select from. Mark 1 if the assumption 1 is implicit. If you think that the first assumption is correct, the second is not, so mark 1. If you think that the second assumption is correct and implied, then mark 2. Mark 3 if you think either 1 or 2 is implicit. They both cannot exist at the same time, but they both can be the right assumption, not together. Then you have to mark this third one. This is a little tricky one, third choice. Mark 4 if neither 1 nor second is implicit, and mark 5 if both 1 and 2 are implicit. So if both are implicit, then 5. If you think none of them, neither is implicit, then 4. Let's now see the question. Quickly drop in your answer for this question. The question says, in spite of poor services, the commuters have not complained against it. Let us see who's going to answer this one. Try to pick up hints from the statement. Yes, can we guess this one? Let us see who's going to answer this one. Drop in your answers, everyone who's watching it, and people who will be watching it later on. You may also pause the video and check for the answer. Let's do the first one together. So the statement says, in spite of. The word itself gives you a lot of hint that it's a rare thing that in spite of the poor services, the commuters, the people who refer to that transport, use that transport, have not complained against it. So this is something which is shocking for the issuer of the statement. The issuer or the author is surprised that even after poor services, people are not complaining about it. So that's a thing which is shocking for him. So what did he assume in his mind before saying it? Generally, people do not tolerate poor services. Yes, that is the reason he used the word in spite of. So he's shocked that people generally do complain, and in spite of such poor services, this time they have not complained. So yes, this was one such idea which must have been on the mind of the author before issuing this statement. Let us read the second one also. Complaints sometimes improve services. Yes, that is also right. So he's shocked that they still did not complain about it, which means he knows that when people complain, usually the problems are solved. So here answer will be both, that is fifth one. Both the assumptions are implied here. I hope you would have got some idea about it. Statement number 2 is a car is required on rent. It's an advertisement. So whenever there is this advertisement, notice or any warning, there are certain assumptions which are always there for these cases. So when it's an advertisement, you have to keep in mind that the issuer of the advertisement benefits from that advertisement. There are some people who are definitely going to read the advertisement. Otherwise, why would people spend money on advertising something, right? Because there are viewers. So, and it is somehow desired by the viewer. Whatever product is being advertised, it's desired by the people. That is the reason they read it. Alright, let us see what assumptions are given over here. Assumption number 1 is all types of vehicles are available. Just because he wants a car doesn't mean that every kind of vehicle is present in the market or available in the market. So we cannot go with this one. So let me just eliminate this one. Moving on to the second one, people will respond to the advertisement. Of course they will respond to the advertisement. That is the reason issuing bodies spend some money and resources to advertise this thing. So assumption 1 is implied here. Sorry, 2 is implied here. Answer will be 2 because only assumption 2 is implied. Let us now see some argument question. So the same direction follow for the argument questions also. If only argument A is strong, then mark 1. If 2 is strong, mark 2. If either is strong, both cannot be strong together, then mark 3. If neither is strong, mark 4. If you think only both the statements are right argument or valid arguments, then 5. Okay, statement says, should computers be used in all possible sectors in India? Now, if this question is asked from you by a person, what kind of reasoning would you give? So, your reasoning should be feasible, reasonable, it should be universal and logical. That will be the right answer. Argument 1 says, yes, it will bring efficiency and accuracy in the work. So, we know that if we have to talk about the creativity, then humans excel, right? But when we talk about the accuracy and accurate data, computers and machines do it better than us. So we may fall, sometimes we may fall short of the right calculation, but computers don't fall short of this. So first is right or valid argument. This is a nice reasonable argument to promote this thing that computers should be used in not each and every sector, the possible ones, wherever computer is required. No, it will bring an injustice to the monumental human resources which are present underutilized. Now these are the options that lay a trap for you. So did the author say that computers should be used in place of human? He said that should computers be used in all possible sectors. That's it. That is all the facts we've got here. He did not say that computers should be installed at the cost of replacing the human resources. He did not say it. So why to go so negative? So this cannot be the right argument here. Answer is 1. Only first argument stands strong here. Now the statement says, is monarchy better than democracy? A simple question. He did not talk about or he did not favor any of these. He's simply asking you. So whichever is strong, that will be the answer. Argument says, yes, if the chair has one confirmed ruler, there are no ambitious aspirants fighting for it. So do you think that's a good thing, that there are no people fighting for one such chair which is to guide people or govern them in the right direction? That's not a good thing. So this is not a strong or valid argument. How is that beneficial that only one person should be in the chair? So he would in a way turn into a dictator. Who knows, right? So it's not a strong reasoning. Next is, no, people are more contented and happier in democracy. How can we say it? Has he given any reason here? This is another fact he has given and another assertion he made without giving reasoning. So when you see these argument question, you have to select only that one in which a proper reasoning is given, some explanation is given. So we cannot go with this one. Answer is neither of the given arguments are strong. So answer is 4. Now this is based on the conclusion. We'll do a conclusion and an inference question also, and then we can wind up the lecture. Okay, so if conclusion A follows, you have to mark 1. If conclusion 2 follows, mark 2. If conclusion either A or B follows, then mark 3. If you think neither follow, then mark 4. Okay, is monarchy better than democracy? Okay, this one is done. Let's read the statement quickly and then see which answer can we go with. Again, another question on democracy. The greatest advantage of democracy over all other forms of government is not that, again, let's read it again. The greatest advantage of democracy over all other forms of government is not that the men who have gone to the top are exceptionally wise, but that since their power depends upon popular support, they know that they cannot retain their position if they are guilty of more than a modicum of injustice. So it's very clear that in democracy, if you want to be on the seat, you'll have to help people, you'll have to do things which can, reduce their problems and help them and develop all the sections of the society if you want to have your seat permanent. So this is the best thing about democracy. Not that the person on the top will be an excellent, the most intelligent kind of person. It's that people will be acting according to the public, according to the countrymen. So conclusion. After saying all this, after giving certain assertion, certain fact and then backing it with some reasoning, what was the purpose of the author? क्या prove करना था यहाँ पे author को? So first conclusion is, in a democracy, person in power cannot act arbitrarily. So he cannot take subjective actions, which we do not know what will be the consequences or why did he take those actions. So particular to one person or his mindset is the arbitrary action. So he cannot take any such impromptu or arbitrary action. He'll have to decide, analyze the situation, see what is needed and then take action. So yes, this seems to be a logical explanation. Democratic countries cannot have excellent leader. Do you think that after giving this short paragraph, author wanted to convey कि democratic countries में excellent leaders होते ही नहीं हैं? Yes, he did say it, that the purpose or the best thing about democracy is not that the leader at the top is the excellent one. It's rather that they cannot act arbitrarily. So only first conclusion follow here. Answer will be first one. I hope now you must have understood what kind of question can come in verbal reasoning. We will practice more question with the upcoming classes. Just stay tuned if you want to practice more. So this I believe is an inference. Yes, it's an inference question. Last question for today. Try answering this one. Informed people generally assimilate information from several divergent sources before coming to an opinion. However, most popular news organizations view foreign affairs solely through the eyes of their state department, their own state department. In reporting the political crisis in foreign country B, news organization must endeavor to find alternative sources of information. Okay, so here author gave you some fact. He gave you the fact that whenever there is a news reporter delivering news about some foreign country, he would do it from the perspective of his own state and their own grievances. And then he concludes saying that probably when you have to report a news on some B country, you should refer to alternate resources not just your own state view. So which of the following inference can be drawn from the argument above? Now there are 2-3 things I want you to remember for inferences and assumption. Because inference and assumption are hidden, unstated. They cannot be a direct line from the passage. They cannot be a restatement of any of the lines from the passage. How can it be? If it's already hidden, it's unstated, it cannot be a part of the passage. But yes, it should logically derive from the passage. So logically, we know that he gave you certain reasons as to why you should be looking for alternate news resources if you want to give authentic news on some country B or XYZ. So what can we infer? इससे हम क्या conclusion निकाल सकते हैं? एक ऐसा conclusion यहाँ पे जो दिया ना हो. Let us understand this. So these are the options. Let us see who's going to answer this one. I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this. Try answering this one. Let's read all the options together. Meanwhile, you can drop in your answers. To the degree that a news source gives an account of another country that mirrors that of our State Department, that reporting is suspect. What does this mean? This is just an option which is here to confuse you. So this cannot be the right answer. To protect the integrity, news media should avoid the influence of State Department releases in their coverage of foreign affairs. So this is again faulty reasoning that we derive on, faulty inferences. So yes, he said that you should be referring to alternate news resources instead of just your state view. He did not mean that you should completely ignore your own state view. So this cannot be the right answer. Reporting that is not influenced by the State Department is usually more accurate than any other accounts. This is also faulty inference that we have drawn. So any news that is not from your state perspective will be the best and the authentic kind of news. Again, this is not something he wanted to say. So he was not saying, the author was not stating that you should completely ignore the state view. Rather, he said that to come up with more authentic news, refer to other alternate sources also and then confirm the news. The alternate sources of information mentioned in the passage might not share the same views as the State Department. And this is the right inference we can come on. You have to give authentic news on country B. Why would author say that instead of only looking your state perspective, from your state perspective, refer to alternate sources also? Because he believes probably they have something else to say. Their news is somehow different from ours. So listen to that news also, that perspective also, and then come up with one such right answer or right news or authentic news. So did you see that? It's logically related to the passage. This is how we do verbal reasoning and some of its question. So these were the 3-4 types of question that I discussed with you today. Try to pause the video and read the questions again if you found them difficult. And let me know in the comment box if you want me to come up more questions on these topics. And try practicing some questions related to verbal reasoning. We will come up with the rest of the question types that are left today in the next live. Till then, do not forget to like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.